Hi everybody and welcome back to Greater Manchester Stories. This episode's amazing guest is a gentleman from Wigan, Richard Scott, who's standing as an independent in Golborne and Lowton West. Wigan is doing really well for me at the moment. I've got so much support from the people of Wigan that it's actually surprised me, considering out of the whole of Greater Manchester, there's only Wigan where I've never worked in a professional capacity. So to the people of Wigan, thank you. And thank you for Richard for coming on the show.
Thank you for the invite, Nick.
You're welcome. So my first question, which I'm asking everybody in your situation, is why have you decided to stand as an independent? Because if you stood for a party, you'd get help, you'd get support, they'd probably pay some of your expenses, you'd get volunteers, you'd have people you can speak to about how do I fill in these forms, what's this about? Because the forms are quite complicated when you're standing for election. Why have you decided to go independent like me?
So it's quite simple, the answer to that, Nick. What it was, I was helping a friend out at the beginning, and I was constantly blabbing to him and going, "Oh, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of that. I've had enough of this, I've had enough of people moaning about that." And it was basically, he said, "I've got a couple of people that I want you to meet. Think Golborne and Lowton West need someone like you, Richard, that can help them out and genuinely gives a damn about the local community that you live in." So we went to meet these lovely people, Michelle and Jason, and their independents for Lee and Everton. And they was explaining what happens, and I just jumped on board, and it was a whirlwind. And they're explaining to me, well, like you just said, if you go with Labour or if you go with Conservative, then you've got something that's called a whip. That means that if you go into the chambers and you're voting on something, you have to vote your party's policy, even if you don't agree with it. And that to me sounded perverse. It's like you're here to do a councillor's job is to work for the people that has elected them. So then why would you go over and go, right, well, I'm working for you, but my party says this. So I'm not actually giving your voice a chance. I'm doing what I'm told to do. So that was a massive part for voting independent. But like I said, I'm sick and tired of constantly moaning and trying to get stuff done. And I'm not being listened to. I want the people of Golborne and Lowton West to have the voice back, to have the power back in the council. And with me, that's what they're going to get. I'm not a politician. I don't want to be a politician. I'm a local lad that's had enough. And I just want to get back to doing stuff for the people that they deserve.
Yep, no, that is. If I had to write an answer down, if someone asked me that question, I'm gonna repeat everything you just said. I'm gonna steal that little speech then, because you've hit the nail on the head with everything there. Because I'm in the same boat. I could have stood for several of the parties. Several smaller parties invited me to stand for them, and I declined them all. And that's because of what you just said. If you join a political party and you become elected, you then are answerable to that party, and you're basically blackmailed into doing what you're told to do, because if you don't, you're not standing for us again and we're going to kick you out. That is not democracy. That is standing to represent the people who are above you, the puppet masters, the people pulling your strings. The only people who should be pulling your strings and pulling my strings are called the people of that area, the voter. They should be pulling our strings, not political parties. So first of all, well done you for understanding that straight away and deciding you weren't going to take the easy path. You weren't going to take the career path. You weren't going to take the path where you get loads of help and support. You're going to take the hard path, because the hard path leads to change. It leads to you improving your neighbourhood and your ward. The easy path doesn't do that. That's why we're in the mess we're in. So well done. So let's talk about your ward, Golborne and Lowton West. What, as a resident of this area and as a potential ward councillor, what are the issues in your area? What issues are you going to tackle?
So my main one, like I've just said, is giving back the voice to the people, giving the people the power to have a say on what happens, instead of going, no, this is going ahead and we're just gonna, we'll let you have your say, but we're still gonna do it anyway. So that's the main one. And I've always thought, I don't like bullies, Nick. I never have, and I won't stand for that. And the other one, it's creeping up a hell of a lot recently. We've just had 3 recent incidents of violence with gangs of teenagers, 14, 15 teenagers, 3 in one day. We had about 3-4 weeks ago, where there's a little park near me on West Avenue, off Haywood Avenue in Golborne. And there was a young lad that had his head kicked in by 14, 15 teenagers. And then after they'd done that, they walked down my street and they attacked someone else. And before that, they robbed someone. This can't continue, Nick. Don't get me wrong, the police did turn up, but why should it be happening in the first place? We need to get something in place so it doesn't happen. So these teams are scared to death of doing that. So that's a major point that I'm fighting for. Golborne is also riddled with potholes.
Well, let me jump in there. Let's talk about crime for a moment then. So I'm a bit of an expert in crime. I spent 20 years working with the police, based in police stations. I've trained police officers. I've got a cabinet full of awards. I've advised 3 prime ministers on crime reduction strategies and projects. Crime in Greater Manchester, violent crime is increasing. It's increasing year on year. And we know it is because we know people who've been victims of crimes. All you've got to do is read the Manchester Evening News. 5-6 years ago, knifings and stabbing people to death was a rare occurrence. It's almost daily now in Manchester Evening News. Wigan's very close to Salford. They found a headless body in Salford a few days ago, being chopped up and disposed of. Bevy used to be a really sleepy council area, the area of Bevy. They've got gang problems now and people being knifed every day. This is across the country and Greater Manchester. And it's not one politician's fault. It's not one political party's fault. This has been getting like this now for decades, and no one's got the bottle or the backbone to do something about it. And if we can't keep our people safe, our residents safe as a politician, what is the point of that politician? And I put this all on the hands of Andy Burnham. Andy Burnham is the Police Crime Commissioner of Greater Manchester, as well as the Mayor. He's been responsible for the police for 7 years, and it's getting worse year on year on year on year. Those teenagers may get caught. If they do get caught, they'll get a slap on the wrist. That's not a deterrent. And we have no consequences in this country anymore now for committing crime. And if there's no consequences, then we wonder why we're getting more and more violent crime. It needs clamping down on. And if I become the police crime commissioner as well as the mayor, you'll be noticing difference within several months of me taking charge, because this is the number one priority for me, just as it's the number one priority for you. Crime. If we can't protect the citizens, then we're no good as politicians. So that's my promise. So your next point is potholes.
Potholes. It's like the moon. It's full of craters, Nick. I have literally been on Facebook for this independent campaign only for a couple of weeks. And when you've got a political group, you see all the stats, as you'll be aware. And I was looking at one last night in particular and seeing that the councillors in all the boroughs, all the wards, have they report jobs, potholes, bad housing, mould, crime, all that kind of stuff, fly tipping. And looking down the list of these jobs that I saw last night, Golborne and Lowton West are right at the very bottom. The one that I'm running against is actually 50th on reporting these jobs. So the question there is, are they listening to the people? Because since I've been doing it a couple of weeks, everyone's telling me about potholes. Everyone's clapping their hands and going, well done, you've reported that one, you've reported that one. I shouldn't have to, Nick. This should have been done. This is 6 years worth of lackluster performance, let's say.
And that's what happens. That's what happens when you have councillors who are expected to get elected again. There's no urgency for them to do anything, because you know what? All these idiots are going to vote for me next year anyway. So what's the point of me doing anything? I don't need to do anything. I can be lazy because these idiots will vote me in again. You get better services from your councillors when they're scared of losing their seats, when they've got people challenging them who may win. Honestly, your councillors will up their game and start working harder. And those stats you just talked about, most people don't understand this. So every councillor in every council, they get recorded every time they report a job, every time they report something from a resident that needs fixing. It might be a broken tree, it might be graffiti, it might be a pothole, it might be crime. All that gets logged. And you can go on your council website and you can see how hard your councillors are working. And believe me, some will be working amazingly hard, but they're a handful. But most of them do nothing. And these stats show us they do nothing. And you need to check out your councillors and make sure you stop voting for the lazy ones. So good job knowing that, and good job pointing that out to people.
Thank you. Like I said, Nick, it's something that I only just realised yesterday when looking at the actual statistics, and I was shocked. And I think everyone else in Golborne, if they will know after watching this, go and have a look and see what their councillors are actually doing. They'll be amazed, and not in a good way.
They'll be amazed at how little they do. It's 10, 14, 15 grand a year in their pocket for doing nothing. And the people who are suffering are the residents. So potholes is a problem all over the country and all over all cities. And some of the questions I'd like to ask is, why do we fill a pothole in and within a year it needs filling in again? Why are we so incompetent that we've not invented something to fix a pothole that lasts a decade? Is it because the council's incompetent? Is it because the people who fill the holes are incompetent? Is it because we don't want to spend slightly more fixing that pothole, but it would last a decade? So we go for the cheaper option, which is cheaper, but only lasts 6 months. Why do we keep coming back to the same holes? That is something no councillor or any head of any department in the council has ever been able to answer me. Why? Surely we have the technology to fix a pothole for a decade. Surely we do.
You would like to think so, wouldn't you, Nick? It's like I used to be a block paver before, when I just came out of school, and that last year's done properly. And I think what you said there is, you're right, you're spot on. It's a mixture of everything. I think it's nowadays where people think, oh, money. It's not about money. I think it was Richard Branson that said it a long time ago. You spend money to make money. If you're spending the right amount of money, you're not going to have to go back in a year's time and spend more money on that same issue. It's going to last, like you said, for a decade. Then fair enough, in a decade, you'll have to do it. But all that money that you've saved, let's say 15,000, that goes somewhere else. That goes on providing places for teenagers to go and hang out that's actually catered for and designed for teenagers. And then we don't have these teenagers going, oh, I'm bored, I don't have anywhere to go, so I'll go and kick off. I'll go and write graffiti. It helps everything move along as it should be.
Yep, saving money is vital to the council. Let me just pick you up on that point about youth services reduce crime and antisocial behaviour and stop kids getting into trouble. They don't. There's no evidence for that at all, because what happens is those kids who cause problems are kicked out of the youth centre straight away because they won't behave in the youth centre. We do need to do something with those young people. I set a charity up to do this, working on the streets with young people who are committing crime and antisocial behaviour. We need to go to them on the streets and try to educate them and try to show them a different path. But building youth clubs doesn't impact antisocial behaviour and crime in an area. I can understand why people think it does, but there's no evidence it does at all, because they get kicked out straight away. So after potholes and crime, what's your next issue in your ward?
So there's lots of buildings going up, lots of houses, and it's taken away all of our green belt. We've not got a lot left. And Golborne is a beautiful place. It's right next to Haydock Racecourse. And if you've ever been to Haydock Racecourse and you've walked up there, the farmers' fields, the walks that you can go on as a family or as a dog walker. I have my own dog. I take mine up there all the time. It's beautiful. I don't want to get rid of it. I want it, and neither do the community. The people of Golborne love the bit of nature that we've got left. So I won't be agreeing to any more projects being put on greenbelt land. We need to start putting it on places that have been derelict for years, like shops that can be turned into flats, or old factories or old warehouses. We've had plenty of them, and they're knocked down. Then they build more houses. It's not good enough.
That's spot on there. We've got so many brownfield sites and ex-commercial areas that are no longer viable because we do so much shopping now online. We need a new plan for fit for the 21st century. Building on fields and building on farms isn't the way to go. We need to be saying to people, developers, the answer is no. So stop coming back with us with plans to build on these things. The answer is no. Go away and start finding other land you can build on. And yes, those houses will be more expensive to buy because building on a brownfield site is more expensive because you've got to do all the cleaning of the land. You've got to do, where if you build on a green field, it's straight away. So I get that, but that's not our problem. As in, our problem is destruction of the green belt and destruction of this beautiful green country of ours. So we need to make sure we're not doing that. And how you can help with that if you get elected, because you'll be one person in the council and Labour will probably still run the council. But what you can do is you need to find out those Labour councillors who are approving this, approving the planning permission. And you need to go to the people in their ward and you need to say to those people, your councillor, Jim Smith, I've made that name up, Jim Smith is your councillor. He's the one approving all this planning permission. And if you want to keep your green land, he's the one you need to vote out at the next election. You need to start naming these councillors who are taking the easy road and then keeping it a secret from the people who vote him in. Name and shame him. It's this man who the reason why we've lost these fields. You need to vote him out next time. And the second those voters vote him out, all those other councillors in the council will go, oh, we better stop doing this because I could be voted out next year, and my seat is more important than building houses on the green belt. I'll keep my seat, thank you. That's how we change them. That's how we change those decisions.
I totally agree, Nick. It's about accountability, and that's a big word around here. It's another thing that I've said and I've put on my leaflets is I'm going to be more present in the community for that sole reason. I live here. You're going to see me every day. And by doing that and showing my face and being present and listening to the people that live in Golborne and Lowton West, that's how I'm going to win. And I think you know better than most people, everyone has to come out on May the 2nd and vote, not just one or two, or the usual fans of Labour or the usual fans of Conservatives or whatever party. If people want to change, Nick, they have to stand up and be accountable and vote. And that's the only way we're going to get in and stop it.
Spot on. If you're watching this and you think your area and your city's being run poorly and you don't vote, you're a big part of the problem. Because when you don't vote, you then give your power to someone else to make those decisions. And people will make different decisions than you. So stop giving that power to other people. Keep that power yourself and have your voice heard. That's why we have elections. People died so working class people could vote in this country. And you're going to sit at home and watch Coronation Street and not be bothered to vote. Well, that's why we're in a mess, because politicians don't have to listen to you and listen to people like you because you guys don't vote. So I don't care about you. But once you start voting, believe me, politicians will care about you then, because all they want is your vote off you. So make sure they've got to buy that vote off you by doing the things you want them to do. Then you will give them your vote. That's how our system works. But Richard, well done standing. I wish you all the luck. Anything I can do, let me know. And if you're elected and I'm elected, we'll make sure that your area is a lot better than it is today. My advice would be door knocking for local ward councillors. That's how you can win, is knocking on doors. It's a small area. Speak to people. They can look you in the eye. They can shake your hands, and they're more likely to vote for you when you're speaking to them face to face. But
Definitely, Nick. I think the one word I would change and disagree with you on that is not if we get elected, because I'm a very positive person and I back myself all the time. When we are elected, we will change it. So yeah, 100%. And I will be counting on your help when I get elected.
absolutely. And when I get elected, you've got help.
Excellent.
I'll
Thank
speak
you
to you
very much,
soon.
Nick.
Thank you.
Speak to you soon. Take care.
Bye bye. If you like that video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell and comment. And if you like what I'm saying about running for Mayor of Greater Manchester, then stick around. Tell your family, tell your friends. The only way I'm going to have a chance of winning is a grassroots movement. So be part of that movement and hit that bell. Thanks.